I did not go to the special Shopify event because I was in Door County, Wisconsin, which is the Cape Cod. It's the Cape Cod of the upper Midwest.
And so you were in Death's Door County for the Shopify conference?
I was at some like stupid farmer's market, and there were these guys selling shirts. Oh, what was on the shirts? Like, just like dudes in their 20s that have like a lot of like rope necklaces and bracelets, the kind of shirts those guys would wear, but like still Door County shirts. And I took one look at those dudes and looked at those shirts, and I just went, that store's on Shopify. Like, I know it. And I straight up, and I was standing there right next to the thing, and I just loaded them up, and I was like, yep, that's Shopify. Oh, pay with Shop Pay. Look at that. Oh, look, they didn't style the checkout at all.
Everybody forgets to style the checkout. I was in Toronto for Editions.dev. That's a conference. That's not Shopify Unite. That's over.
Are you sure it's not?
But
Shopify
we've replaced
Unite?
it with Editions.dev, which is essentially the same vibes.
I don't know. I saw the video with Harley. He got mad at you when you didn't say .dev.
Well, all right, so Shopify Editions is the features announcement. That happened the day before Editions.dev, the conference. So don't get these confused.
Oh, sorry.
Editions is the feature announcement. Editions.dev is the developer conference.
Excuse me.
Yeah, these are very different things. But we did have some feature announcements, like recap at .dev. But like 150 things in total between the two. I can't keep track of all that. Half the time, I don't know what's going on. Fortunately, I was able to, in person, ask people who did know what was going on, who could break down some highlights for me.
Yeah, who we starting with, Harley?
Yeah, let's start with Harley. He could break this all down for us.
Roll Harley.
My name is Harley. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm also the president of Shopify.
Oh, okay.
And most importantly, I'm a long-term friend of Kurt Elster's, and we've known each other now for almost a decade, I think, right?
Yeah.
Must be a decade.
10 years.
10 years.
Someone was just asking me.
I think 10 years.
10 years.
And it's been a lot of ups and mostly ups, maybe some downs.
10 years it happens.
Yeah, sometimes. Every now and then we put out something, you're like, I don't really like it, and you give us some good feedback, and we make some changes, but that's what a real ecosystem is.
Well, I've been around long, I don't think about it.
That's cool.
Which is a little insane.
Well, I mean, I say this with all due respect, but you're sort of like, when I see you here, I'm like, oh yeah, of course, like, Kurt's here, obviously. Like, it's not a surprise to me. Whereas, I just saw Daniel Patricio, who's working at Shopify, who's an app developer now, an amazing app developer, I should say. It's so nice to see him. It's like a nice surprise. But you're like fucking furniture.
I'm a fixture.
You're a fixture here. Like, you're always around, which is amazing. So yeah.
All right, so we're at Shopify Editions. I can't help
Editions.dev.
Editions.dev, sorry.
Editions is our release that happened yesterday. .dev is the event.
And at the .dev event, I can't help but compare it to Unite. I got Unite vibes. Is this the new Unite?
It's not. It's different than Unite. Partially, it's different for a few reasons. Number one, Unite was focused on all types of partners, agencies, SIs, app developers. This is really focused on developers, people that are building on top of the Shopify code base, on top of our APIs, on top of our SDKs. And you sort of do feel a little bit of a different sense of like I'm sure there are some agencies and other freelancers that have showed up as well. But generally, the crowd here is very technical. And even in terms of, we have some merchants here that sort of snuck in, as you probably can tell. But
it happened at Unite too.
And it did happen, that's right. But they're very very technical merchants that are really, going deeply into like the Shopify tech docs and like trying to figure out like, hey, there's this one thing under a beta flag, I want to explore that a little bit more. But yeah, it's a little bit different.
What's the big hot feature, the one you're proud of?
I think, so we released our summer edition yesterday. There's some really cool stuff that we're bringing. Analytics is one. Analytics is just going to work much better. I think it was always good. I think now it's getting much better. I think there's a bunch of cool stuff happening right now on markets. It's probably the one that's getting the most attention. Just the ability to select different pricing, different SKUs, to really I've been talking about Shopify being a retail operating system for a long time, but this idea that B2B is a market, and the US can be a market, and Canada, can be a market for wholesale. And then you can do different products in different places, different pricing depending on the market. I think that's just going to make, we've been talking about default global for a while. I think that really advances it. But actually, I think the theme of this edition is even more important than the specific features. This idea of bringing it all together, having a unified product where every feature that we added 150 features this edition, about 100 features in the winter edition. The fact that every feature feels like it was always there, that I think is really important. So the theme is unified, and I think that speaks to how we want people to think about our product.
So the double-edged sword of shipping all these features is it's remarkable, and we all want our toys,
Yep.
right?
There's a but coming, I feel like.
The but is then you're making your life much harder in making the interface consistent and easy to use. Is fixing that the theme?
I mean, certainly making it feel, so let me take a step back. Truly elegant, delightful software has a lot of, it's like a beautiful watch where on its face it just tells the time. But underneath the face, there's all these really fancy complications. And I think Shopify, we endeavor for it to work like that, where it's simple to use, it's easy to get started, but as you grow and as your business needs expand, the complexity sort of reveals itself over time, but at the right time. So that if you're sitting at your mom's kitchen table right now and building a store on Shopify, it feels super easy and elegant. But if you're, some big merchant doing a couple $1 billion a year and you have wholesale and retail and wholesale and direct-to-consumer online, you're cross-selling on Target or you're cross-selling on Instagram, it all feels like this well-oiled machine. And a major challenge is as you add more stuff, how do you make it so that the admin still feels elegant and easy to use, easy to navigate? And making this sort of unified thing a priority, I think will make all that easier, but that is a major challenge. It's the reason why most companies either become way too complex and frankly, they make their admin, their dashboard look like, a NASCAR, car with all those different decals everywhere. It's confusing. You're not really sure who's sponsoring the car. Or they hit a particular ceiling in terms of complexity, and beyond that size, it just doesn't work. We think we can do both. I mean, I have a store on the side, as you know. I have Firebelly Tea with my best buddy, my little side hustle at Shopify, and we use markets. It's amazing. It allows us to do things that I always like to think about the metaphor of like a browser with a bunch of tabs opened, and you have like 9 different tabs. You have like one tab is like your admin, one tab is like your point of sale admin, one tab is like your Instagram admin. This idea of collapsing tabs into one single admin, which is Shopify. The amount of cognitive load that gets decreased or downshifted by doing something like that is immense. And I think that our job is to make it so that the millions of merchants that use Shopify, they feel like they can focus on growing their business, making beautiful products, not managing the admin. Like that should be sort of something that sort of comes for free and it's easy because you want to focus on building whatever product you're building.
This evening, let's give people some FOMO. What do you have in store for us?
It's going to be amazing. So we're going to the port. It's the after party. And we're going to the Shopify port, which is our space here in Toronto. We're opening up all the floors. Every floor will have different cool stuff. It's going to be great food and great party, but also like super thoughtful stuff. So actually, you'll see tonight. I'm not going to give anything away, but it's really cool. We've been planning this for a while, and it's fun to get together with everyone. And there's a lot of hugs and a lot of selfies as you're seeing here, which is amazing. I think people are asking to have more selfies with you than with me, which is
please
shows your
that was the first thing I did.
Your dominance here in this community, Kurt.
As soon as I saw you, I was like, give me a selfie.
Yeah, but I will say this. This is also tonight and today is our way to say thank you to the community. Shopify would never, ever, ever be what it is today if it wasn't for you and others like you. And shout out to the Unofficial Shopify podcast. It's freaking awesome. I've been on it, I think, once or twice, maybe.
You've been on it?
Yeah. Maybe time to come back on.
Happy to have you.
And what's your license plate, by the way?
I famously had the Shopify license plate.
Famously, yes. You were the first person on the planet to have a Shopify license plate.
What's funny is like the number of Shopify license plate I've seen pop up since then.
I live in Montreal right now. I was at the Grand Prix with my wife. We're walking around. I do not have the Shopify license plate. We walk around and see a car with Shopify license plate. My wife's like, whose car is that? Turns out, Shopify Merchant. It was amazing. I love that Shopify Merchant has the Shopify license plate in Quebec, and I don't.
And
cool.
It only happened a couple times, but somebody would pull up next to me, really excited, like roll a window, and I roll it down, and they go, "What's your store?"
All right, well, thanks for having me on.
I mean,
so I was there. What did you get out of it?
He's Shopify's head cheerleader. That's who Harley is.
He's chief storyteller.
He's head cheerleader.
He's very disciplined about staying on message.
Yes,
I am not.
That's true. Well, that's why they like us.
I'm all over the place. As far as impact on merchant platform product, I think the takeaway of this round of updates is, hey, everything's going to get easier to use. That was the takeaway if I'm a merchant. It's like just 6 to 12 months, expect it to get easier to use, even if some things maybe get rearranged. As a partner, man, they've always done a great job of making you feel appreciated. Editions.dev, they really went above and beyond in acknowledging people and calling out specific people for their contributions to the community. Great experience. But let's get into things that impact us directly, right? We spend all our time in themes, in the theme editor, in the online store portion of Shopify. And so I got Ann Thomas, and she's quite integrated into the community. So her perspective is going to be very valuable. And so let's hear what she had to say.
My name's Ann Thomas. I'm the co-founder of Design Packs. Yeah, so we have an app, and it really is more of a section delivery tool. So we add new sections to your existing Shopify theme, and they have all sorts of settings and functionality, and they're like new Lego blocks for your Lego collection.
And it's the Lego blocks in the Lego collection that most interests me. There's a term that got coined on stage today, I believe. Vanessa Lee from Shopify said Online Store 3.0. Mm-hmm. Online Store 3.0.
I went to a full-out workshop, so there was a full coding
laptops
tutorial.
out.
The laptops were out, yes. And there was examples, and essentially the biggest mind-blowing thing is that at the moment you have sections and you have blocks. Well, now we're going to have the concept of being able to group blocks and nest blocks.
Okay.
So it's like block inception. And at the moment you can go 8 levels deep. So if you think about columns and how you can rearrange different things, that's what we're going to be having with just blocks, and you don't have to build a regular merchant, just go in and build that.
I can do that now, can't I? What's different?
No, so right now, if you had columns, each of those columns would be a block, and then within those columns, you would have to have, maybe an image, maybe some text, and it's very static as to how the order of those things appear within that individual column. Now, you could have an image block inside of that column. You could have a text that you could then rearrange and move around. There's a lot of possibilities. And then even then, within that column, let's say you want to have 3 icons in a row within that specific column, you could have another group of image, 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 because those are also nested blocks. So this is the other thing. They have breakpoints. So within the theme editor now, so at the moment, you would have to have mobile-specific settings. So you might have, this is desktop, and on mobile, I want it to look like this. Now, similar to markets, how you can change what country you're previewing, how that looks, you can select a different mobile view, or you can set the breakpoint yourself. And
it works like markets?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Mm-hmm. And so then you can actually see, there's going to be different settings that are visible when you have that mobile view set, when you're previewing it, basically.
Wow.
I know. And another one thing that they talked about was also you can combine with that static blocks. So let's say you have settings that are only specific to something like a slideshow, let's say, right? Maybe you have a slideshow block, but maybe that slideshow block isn't visible at that time. So you would have conditional settings that you could turn off and on, and it would also hide and show that element in the section. And everything is sort of pulled out, so it's not like you have, enable this, grid, and then you have grid settings. Everything is pulled into its own little static block.
I am scared.
Is that your default state, though?
True, scared or annoyed. I mean, obviously, all the merchants hearing this, your life's going to get a lot more fun. You're going to have a lot more flexibility, it sounds like, especially when you're getting themes from the big official theme developers who are going to be implementing this stuff properly and, ready to go with it. I am scared because I see the back end of all of that, and I'm kind of like, how are we going to do blocks on blocks on blocks? Have it support blocks on blocks on blocks, or have it support these new different types of, what did you call it? What's the difference, the B2B versus...
Contexts,
to have it support different contexts and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, the context switching for mobile, that never even occurred to me as that's how you should do it. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, that's so much better than trying to have like a mobile and desktop version inside each of these sections.
That's the thing I want to know is that's either going to be awesome or that's going to jack me up so bad, depending on how Shopify implements it. Like if it's got real robust liquid support, where I could just be like, all right, if you're in the mobile context, act this way. If you're in the desktop context, act this way. And then I could just write 2 things and then you're done. That would be great. I mean, that's certainly superior than the current thing where I got to write it all twice and then like hide it. Sometimes I'm hiding it. Sometimes I'm showing it. Sometimes it's supposed to act this way. I could just write it a single way within the context and that's it.
I think this is just the relationship of theme developer to new features. Like anytime they've had announced Online Store 2.0, Sections Anywhere, Flex Sections, I think that's to be expected. A little trepidation of like, all right, I see where you're going. I like this. How?
Yeah.
How am I going to do this?
Like,
and you just got to get through it the first time.
All you did was show me the finished meal and look how good the finished meal is. What do I got to do to cook that meal?
Yeah, what's the meal prep here, buddy?
It's like, oh, wait, okay, start 36 hours beforehand. Oh, man.
We got the overall highlights and the theme from Harley. Anne went deep on we're going to get a better, more customizable, easy-to-use version of themes in the theme editor. The Shopify is so big now, it has to do so much for so many people, and it has to meet merchants where they are. And so, like Online Store 2.0, that's going to cover people in beginning, middle, advanced. That's the majority of folks. But okay, then at the extreme end of revenue is going to be enterprise clients, and I don't know that we have like true enterprise clients. We have big clients, we have plus clients.
Well, I mean, I kind of want to know what makes an enterprise client different from another.
They're just like the most corporate of clients.
Yeah, it's just like, what does that mean? Like, well, they make you have 10 times more meetings than you need. Like that. Like what?
They have the biggest budgets.
Yeah, they have a big budget. Okay, good. But it's like we got clients that do $20 million. But like,
I think the moment it's like it's publicly traded. We move into a lot of compliance, and then that's what is going to drive it as enterprise.
Oh, okay.
Let's go with that. But I need a guy who can break down the impact on enterprise for me, and none better than Matt King. He's a former Shopify employee turned agency owner and one of the biggest agencies now, Domain. And so I was excited to sit down with him and get his take on this.
I'm Matt King. I'm the CRO and co-founder of Domain. Domain is a Shopify service partner or an agency. And we're the largest independent Shopify agency. I used to work at the mothership, the big green bag. I was there at Shopify, employee number 362, started in 2013, left in 2018, and joined the partner side.
What was the number one highlight where you went, oh?
For me, it was what I guess now is being colloquially referred to as Online Store 3.0, the visual editor for Hydrogen. I think that's like the most novel thing that was talked about today in my world, in the design and build world. So yeah, I'm stoked with that.
Visual editor for Hydrogen being called Online Store 3.0. That's Headless, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's like what it's doing is kind of blurring the line more and more between Headless and not. This is an editor now that's within Shopify where it kind of functions as if it's like a theme store editor in a similar way. So, it's kind of like bringing the two things closer and closer together in a Shopify way. They've somehow made Headless easier again. Therefore, like, is it Headless still? Like, isn't Headless more difficult than that? But yeah, what I like about it is that it's blurring the two, Headless or not.
Yeah, the theme is unified.
Yeah.
We're going to make everything easy to use. Did you see that here?
I mean, easier to use for sure. Yeah. Unified as a concept. I mean, I think it's a bit of a buzzword, to be honest. And I get Shopify doubling down on unified commerce as like this approach. But I don't think I spent a lot of time talking to brands. I was on a panel with brands last week. The unified commerce as a theory isn't resonating with brands just yet. I think we're having to work towards it, and it's feature by feature. I think not only like does the features that Shopify release at these conferences make it easier to use, but what actually more important is they're removing barriers. It's like there used to be all of these reasons to not choose Shopify. It wasn't good for multi-currency or multi-geolocation, or it wasn't a good B2B portal. They're just kind of like removing one barrier at a time. Like all the reasons to say no are getting less and less, and that's what I'm excited about as a partner that's bringing sites off Salesforce. It's like, how many more barriers can we take away? There's like the two worlds of Shopify, right? There's like the DIY version, and which is what most people are doing, is like building their own experiences and not looking into code. And then there's like the Plus, Shopify Enterprise. Now, Shopify Plus as a brand is like no longer whatever. It's a plan now, not a brand.
Which, yeah, they didn't address that here.
That's true. Yeah.
But we all saw that internal email that went around.
All we know is a leaked memo. So
yeah.
I think at the everyman Shopify level, I get the idea of like merchants shouldn't touch code. You just make it easy as possible, remove the tools away. But at the enterprise, on the large scale, Our clients and merchants that we work with are often comfortable in code. At least they have someone technical on their team. They're a digital company. They're selling online. So it should be easy to use, but also the access should be there. And in fact, more access, more APIs, more, like using GraphQL. I want to see more unlocks from merchants as well as partners.
Matt King, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I didn't understand this. So hydrogen, as you
This is interesting.
as you alluded to in this video, hydrogen is like Shopify's internal fancy term for headless. For API access.
Yeah, hydrogen is their headless solution.
Is their headless for hitting the API to build a headless solution. But now they're adding a GUI tool to hydrogen.
Yes.
In which case, what's the point of hydrogen?
Well, okay, when people go headless because, hey, this is going to give me total flexibility. But then the downside is, all right, I have a store that is significantly more static in its approach than my typical online store 2.0 theme. And with that, so there's trade-offs, right? I get this very fast site that looks exactly the way I want, and it's dialed in, and I could do really custom stuff with it. But then trying to maintain it, I am now married to the developer who built it.
Yeah, you literally, the downfall of headless, and as we've seen over the past year and a half, 2 years, of tons of merchants coming to us asking us to get them off headless.
And we're not alone. I took plenty of agencies had the same experience.
They all jumped in because it was the hot new thing, and they thought it was going to solve all their problems.
That doesn't mean headless is bad, though.
No, it's not bad. But what they don't understand is, they weren't big enough to need headless.
Exactly.
You thought you needed headless, but you didn't. But you wanted to be big and cool, so you went and got it.
Well, it's like, I'm going to spend the money. I want to buy once, cry once. And if you're telling, and headless seems like the fanciest option, well, isn't that the best?
Yeah. Well,
and it turns out the answer is like not necessarily.
Yeah, the problem is that, okay, in order to do that, like, you're not doing anything yourself from now on. Now you straight up need a full-time developer on retainer or on staff that's making every single change on your store for you. And the merchants didn't like that once they realized that was the case.
I'd say in the past, what you could do, like, you could get a CMS and plug it in and try and maintain it. Shopify has an official partner for this. What did he say the name of it was? I forgot. Unity?
Oh, I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, I forgot too. All right, that's okay. But all right, so you have hydrogen, you've got your headless store, and if you imagine your headless store, like every section is a series of properties, or like everything's a series of properties defined similar to like an API might look. Like it's all in there in JSON, and then the template renders it. They're adding a CMS functionality to it where you could say, okay, these properties, like the text of a headline, are safe for a merchant to edit. So you can add a CMS experience on top of hydrogen natively. And so, all right, essentially I'm adding Shopify saying, hey, we have an official path for giving you theme settings for a headless site.
So does this come with having a headless site? Or is it we are now opening up the ability, an official Shopify approved way for your developers to write GUI tools for the headless setup that they also wrote for you? So that then good, but now you still need those developers to maintain that.
Well, so
because they wrote it.
Yes. Yeah, the moment you go to headless, like you either better have an internal team or you better have somebody on retainer to help you with it. What this is saying is, all right, so like simple content changes.
Yeah.
A marketer could do it. I think that's where the frustration comes in, is if you're going to spend the money on a headless site, you also have internal or retained marketing team. And the marketing team is like, look, we just want to change the promo on the website. We don't want to have to submit a work ticket for it. This is the way out of that.
Yeah.
Once you're in hydrogen and headless, the extreme end of things, you're on the bleeding edge at that point. The focus was still, let's make that easier to use. Like, you're going to make the tools I live in every day easier to use for me? Yes, please. Thank you. I appreciate it. We got more bonus episodes we'll do. There's a garden center down the street from us. Yes, a garden
that's right. I thought you were talking about something in Toronto, but yeah,
no. Called Chalet in Skokie, and it was 5 minutes from our office, and it's this big garden. It's like Home Depot garden center size, but better. And they had point of sale in action. They'd been using it a while, and they were using these. It's got new features. It was cool. So I interviewed him and shot some B-roll for it.
Yeah, you've
so
been talking
we'll
to
do
a
that as
lot of
bonus
people in the
episode.
last few weeks about the different things that Shopify's announcing. I know you've been talking to some AI people that have been utilizing the Shopify Copilot.
I did. I talked to a gentleman so Shopify Sidekick, their AI Sidekick, that is going to go into early access. Meaning, like, go on the site, request access now, and potentially you get beta access to it. And it turns out the thing is real. It's not vaporware. Because I talked to a guy who's been using it in his store, and he had nothing but positive things to say about it. He's like, I have a question about my store, my analytics. I just ask it, and it's going to have the answer or point me in the right direction. It sounded really cool. They've got those new image editing tools, which I played with those. They work as advertised, and I talked to a merchant who'd been using it like in practice way longer than I had. Oh, Shopify Flow. I love Shopify Flow. I think it's like 700, 800,000 merchants use it, which that's a lot. But I think more people aren't using it who could be. And it's an app built in your Shopify plan. Plug that bad boy in, and it gives you all these wonderful automations. And so I talked to a couple folks about that. And so yeah, we got bonus episodes, and then just take your pick of what's going to help make your life easier.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll end it there.
We will post those as soon as I can get them edited.
Yeah.
But I'm very busy right now.
Yeah, it has been. But all right, yeah, we'll have all that stuff coming out in the next couple weeks for you. We'll end it there. See ya.